Let's talk depression now. It's World Health Day today, and today the subject is depression. We thought, okay, here in this corner of the world, one of the things that we know gets people depressed is relationships. So Amos Kevin-Annan is joining us for a conversation on this. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mama. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah.
You've been good?
Yeah.
Ups and downs?
I was taken ill for a while, but I recovered and I'm better.
Yeah, you definitely look better.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
so we
have
thank
been.
God for
I
your
have
life.
been. Yes. Thank you for praying. Those who prayed.
Yeah.
If you didn't pray, don't feel guilty.
I don't. Let's talk depression now because, that's what we've been activated to do on this particular day. But the point is, what's the relationship between depression and love relationships?
Well, I mean, clearly, when it is that you're describing a depressing condition, you're looking at a condition that makes an individual persistently sad, and they are less motivated and would have lost interest in an activity, which you may consider a norm for everybody. So the things that keep everybody excited do not excite them. And some will withdraw, others will recoil, others will contemplate all kinds of things. In the extreme case, they go into self-harm or suicidal thoughts come in. Now, when relationships are not going the way we expected them to have been, there's a tendency for people then to withdraw from whoever they're engaging with. And if it is that you have no alternative in terms of who to engage with, then that persistent sadness eats you up. So the very life that you have, you are denied of it. Now, in some circumstances, individuals are harshly treated in the relationship. There's violence, whether it's verbal, psychological, or emotional trauma, and that eats their soul away. And the fact that your soul is being whittled away will then drive you into a perpetual state of sadness and loss of interest in the relationship. Others may have also had an experience in the past with previous relationships, which are nearly teleguiding their current situation. So they don't give off their fullest. Why? Because they practice this phenomenon known as just in case. Now, that just in case oftentimes is heightened and reinforced when they see traces of what persisted in the previous relationship that truncated. And so there are so many things that we do in our relationships that may or may not aggravate the condition of depression or would lessen the possibility of depression in a person who you are relating with.
Yeah. From where you sit, you hear a lot of a lot of stories. People come to you on a daily basis.
I mean, you hear some that are prior to marriage, others within marriage, and others even post a divorce situation. And in each case, you notice that the depression condition is different. It is also very much related to our personality differences. You know, some personality types care less how people feel. And so they are not feeling oriented. They are more cognitive, logical, rational beings. They tend to think more than to feel more. Now, if you have such individuals, you notice that those who feel more, when in the relationship, their views are not considered as virtuous. Those views which are not considered virtuous will drive them into a state of quietness, a state where they shell themselves, cocoon themselves in a situation where they no longer are interested. So what you end up doing is that these individuals will need to come to a point where they ask themselves, must I continue this or cut the process? Some in marriage are also going through the same, where you recall we had a discussion, married by feeling single. Some people are married, but they are in a situation where the person they are married to treats them as though they did not exist.
Yeah.
And that reality also drives them to nuts. And then others also, when you truncate a marriage relationship where you terminate it, whether it's by annulment, a divorce process, or whichever process that you went through to cut off your ties with somebody you loved, somebody you may have consummated a relationship with, and they promise to give, say, alimony. Especially in the customary marriage, that's where they default. But in the ordinance, usually, because it goes through the court processes, defaulting is at your own peril. So many dread defaulting. But in a customary situation, you notice that they renege on their promises. They promise to take care of the children, pay school fees, do this. And 2 months, they are not doing that. And it won't you, if you don't have the economic wherewithal to be able to sustain that kind of support, those women tend to become very depressive. There are men also who the processes was so turbulent of annulment or dissolution of the marriage was so turbulent that it has actually drained them of their resources. And many of these men don't see hope at the end of the tunnel. So what do? They become very depressed. And when it lingers on for a very long time, then it becomes something that you have to start taking antidepressants and all those kinds of things. But those things, once they go into your bloodstream, you won't be the same as you used to be. It's a management process that you're going to go through. So depression can happen to anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're even worn out. Sometimes it's a guilt that you carry. You went into some infidelity, you didn't tell your spouse, and it's still haunting you, eating you up. And it's like every time you sit, there's something to talk about, but you just don't have the words to talk about. So you look crescent falling, you're in a state of melancholy, and that will not help you.
Yeah. What we played before, we started this in-studio conversation, I just want us to take the pointers and talk about it, because they said we should talk today.
Yeah,
so
let's talk.
Talk all morning here on our show. The first one is start the morning together. Start the morning together.
Yeah, I think starting the morning together for many people will reflect itself differently. For instance, you drive in separate vehicles, so how do you start the morning?
You leave before the other person does.
Yeah. So the best you can do is that one should not be asleep while the other one is up and getting ready to leave. That's a moment you can do something together. A hug, a tap, something, an embrace.
A walk to the gate.
A walk to the gate, see him off or see her off. When they're about to set off their vehicle, you can tap them on the thigh and wish you good day. These are things, ordinarily this should happen, but where there is an issue unresolved, clearly you can't start the day together.
Yeah.
So usually the admonition is don't go to bed with an issue outstanding.
Don't go to bed with an issue outstanding.
Yeah, because that unresolved issue through the night, when you wake up in the morning, clearly you are not in a state of mind to be together. You tell yourself, I'm better off alone than being together. But you see, the idea also with relationship is that we are better together. The concept of synergy, assuming these chairs could take 250 kg maximum, the concept of synergy says when you combine them, they could together take about 600. So I could take 250, that could take 250, but the combined efforts of the two will not only take 500, but there's a certain multiplier in the capacity to withstand pressure. And so if we are going to be better together and we went to bed not being better together, then clearly we cannot start the day together.
All right, let's go to our second pointer. Give compliments often. We'll come back to this subject. Give compliments often.
You see, the things that hold relationships, they are small things. Take notice of the new hairstyle.
Are you saying that to me?
Yes.
No.
Take notice of the new eyelash. They sound mundane, they sound so trivial, but those are the big issues, because the small things are indeed the big things. The new attire that they're wearing, notice the good side. Oftentimes there's an easy drift into that which is negative. We notice sharply the things that are negative, more often than not. And that's a human trait. But if we want to go beyond just our human traits and be more than human, we should then notice the good things.
Yeah. How do you sustain that in a marriage?
In a marriage setting, I mean, it's the show of goodwill. I would constantly trumpet this issue of goodwill because many people are driven by ill will. And the moment you are driven by ill will, every gesture is jaundiced. Your attitude will be jaundiced, your commentary will be jaundiced, your posture will be jaundiced, everything you do. You know, you are second guessing each other, you are wishing to annihilate one another from the earth. So there's a need for individuals to get to this point where we learn to complement. Now, for women, I call it the quadruple A. Attention, affection, affirmation, and then availability.
Okay.
There's a need for you to be there for them. There's a need for you to take notice. There's the need for you to see them. There's the need for you to notice. I've had situations where I say it in jest that you find some young ladies pass by an area where the young guys clustered. And then you hear them go, please, did you call me? Their ears are itching to hear somebody call them. And so you can call each other by a certain name that evokes warmth, that evokes friendship. Some choose darling, some choose dear. Others call them by their local names. You know,
sometimes nicknames from
some
school.
have nicknames from school. You know, Paddy, hey, Joe, hey, this. It helps. But for the man, his is the quadruple R, respect. You see, you need to show him respect. You need to give him reassurance. You need to let him know that he receives relief from you. If his weight that he's carrying is overbearing, is actually drowning him, he needs somebody who comes into his life to relieve him of that weight. You know, and he needs somebody to give him that reassurance that you are the man. You are the man. Don't talk down his manhood, his masculinity. There's a need to sustain that. And respect is cardinal. Reassurance is key. And then also get to a point where you make him feel relieved of his pressure, the burdens. And then you just relate with him normally.
How are girlfriends able to do that better in most cases? You would hear, and that's why some men would have an aside, because they make them feel all the things that you've just described and not the ones in the home. You see,
oftentimes, relationship outside marriage is so spontaneous that you barely think about what you do. You just get carried by the whirlwind of the emotions, of the thrill and the chill. But the moment we settle down, everything we do ought to be intentional. Otherwise, we'll never do them. So there's a need for us to practice this intentionality. You must intentionally tell your spouse the things you have to tell them. And you don't do so because of what you're going to gain or get. And some men are quick to be very suspicious of their spouses when they start running commentary because they know that these gestures are not regular. They are out of the norm.
Leading to something.
Leading to something. So they go like, is there anything?
Yeah. Be quick.
Be quick.
Yeah.
Just tell me what you want.
Exactly.
I can see that we are moving on a trajectory that I'm familiar with. You know, so let's get these things to be part of our normal life. I mean, it's tough.
But how do you understand that this same man who is telling his wife, I understand where you're going, so just go straight to the point. If a girlfriend was telling him that, he would just wait and soak in it and be smiling sheepishly.
You see, there's a certain thrill that comes with deviant construct that you never get in the norm. Okay, see how abnormal conditions and behaviors tend to excite people. Because people have fallen into a trap that says normal is boring, abnormal is exciting. And so, for instance, if you're cheating and you're having flints here and there, it's exciting. There's a certain thrill of the hunter that comes.
Like an adventure.
Yeah, it's almost like an adventure. And today it's not only men who are doing that. Some women are doing it with gleeful confidence, you know, and it's shocking. I heard a story on one of the networks of a woman who says that, well, I sleep with this guy, he's not my husband, but I go home as a wife. And I'm going, whoa. So you see, there's a certain state of settlement, comfort, solace that the individual has gained for themselves. Whereas when you go to the marriage, because you are managing weaknesses, you see, you get attracted to somebody's strength and it's idealistic. He's going to be like this forever. Men marry women hoping they will never change. Then the women change and they go like, oh, you're looking different, you have changed. And ladies would settle with a guy hoping he would change for the better, and the guys don't change, they fossilize. Now when they get into this fossilized situation, the ladies get frustrated. Now, so there's a need for us to understand that those who are having flings and doing all those things with girlfriend stuff, those ones are such that there's a lot of bubble out there. There's a lot of energy out there. But the moment you settle, what you're going to now see are the things you did not see prior to consummation. And so now you're going to deal with weaknesses because you got attracted to the strengths. And that's basically what the idealistic condition of flirt is all about. It's the good side of the person. You never see him angry. He's all nice, all pleasant. But now you settle with him. You spend the night and you realize he snores. And that drives you crazy. I can't sleep. You snore. He said, I didn't snore. Then that becomes a point of argument because you know that they are not going to go anywhere anyway. And sometimes people also tend to be a little callous with each other when they are settled than when they are not in a consummated union. So prior to marriage, he can allow certain things. He can let some things go. It's a fluid situation. Whereas in marriage, everything is then taken seriously.
All right. Let's go to our third pointer, is it? We're talking depression, but we're talking how to get along all those moods and be happy as a couple. Send random text messages.
Yeah. I mean, text messages.
This thing is always realistically not sustainable, is it?
You see, it says random.
Ah, okay. Not regular.
That's it. The instruction here is random. You see, there are some individuals out of sight, out of mind. And I heard Uncle Ebo say, when you call your husband and ask him, have you missed me? Chances are that out of 90, they are lying.
Yes, he has.
Because
he's not even thinking about you.
He's busy to your project, but to be nice, he has to say, yeah, I was thinking of you. And you look at the pace and the pitch of the tone.
Yeah.
So you better don't ask him.
Never
have you missed
ask Roland Walker that.
Ro, where are you? Come and redeem yourself. You know, so there's a need for this random text messaging. There are people who wake up to read a message from a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And when it is they don't hear from them the whole day, they become suspicious. Some become downhearted simply because they didn't hear from them. Now, how come when we settle in marriage, this is no more? Because oftentimes for the male, the thrill of the hunter, it wins down. I mean, the man had done everything, noose around, create traps, done all the things. He now gets the game. Then he settles. There's no more chasing. But one of the things I've seen is that women want to be chased outside and inside marriage. And so the man needs to understand that he needs to chase. Men, don't stop pursuing the ladies.
Shouldn't the women also
find creative ways of strategically position yourself to be pursued? No, some women, you see, I mean, I'm sitting with husbands who say, my wife these days, her dressing even in the house is almost like going to the prayer meeting. She does not know the difference between dressing at home and dressing for a prayer meeting. So the same dresses that they take to the prayer meeting, they bring it to the bedroom. Then what do? You clutter his mind with all kinds of things. He's going, what is this? Did I bargain for this? Now there's a need for us to segment our dressing as women. That's one of the strategic positioning.
Okay.
And you know all the things that go with it. I'm not going to prescribe anything for anybody, but you've got to be.
Yeah, you've got
to be tempting enough in that area.
Yeah.
You see, if you're a wife, learn how to seduce your spouse. Michaela, are you listening?
Okay, it looks like we have to do some roll calling here on the show today.
No, there's a need. You see, if you're a wife and you can't seduce your husband, some woman will seduce him.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same thing. If you're a man and you cannot engage your wife in conversation, some serpent out there wants to talk to your wife. And it will be the state of Eve. The silence of Adam caused us all the trouble we are going through. You know, so there's a need for the men to be talking to their wives. Because if you're a woman, your greatest asset in any relationship, whether it's in marriage or yet to be consummated in marriage, is talking. Learn to broach subjects, raise conversational themes and topics, and get the man talking. Unfortunately, many men don't tend to talk that much prior to marriage. And so now when they get into marriage, it becomes a very Herculean task to get him to open up and to talk. Just one-liners. One man said, I just said one line and my wife gave me a paragraph. And that's common because women always have a lot to vent out, a lot to talk. But men tend to bottle up these things. And there's a need for us to randomly be sending these messages.
Okay.
I mean, we get excited. You see, meanings are in people. And words carry a certain connotation. So it doesn't have to be verbose. Oh, hi, I was just thinking of what you're having for lunch. You know, yesterday I was there, I was served a meal. I was not particularly enthused with it. So I sent my wife a picture of it to look at it. I mean, I don't normally do that. I took a picture and sent it to her, see what I'm having for lunch. Say, oh, good for you. And I said, not good that way. The picture may be deceptive. So when I couldn't finish the meal, I just took a picture and sent it to her, see what some remained. I mean, if it was that good, I would have consumed everything.
Yeah. So sometimes just something to start off, some conversation.
Some conversation. You may not have a lot of time to talk that lengthy, but something to let him know that she or he is still on your mind.
Yeah.
That's very important.
All right. All right, let's go to number 4. And I hope that all of you are listening. Yeah. Food for thought. Surprise each other. Surprise each other. Is it with gifts or what?
Surprise is surprise. If the person is the one whose love language is gifts receiving and gifts giving, then a gift will be okay. There are others, you do something you have never done for them before. They're in the bathroom, you bump into it, you go like, hey, I want to scrub your back for you. Michaela, this is for you. This is lesson number 2 for Michaela today.
Okay.
So scrub, Manche, wherever you are. You should do that for Michaela as well. I'm now on your case. Now, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
So your wife's vehicle is there. You just picked it, take it to the washing bay. You clean it, do the upholsteries, do everything. That's beautiful. It's a surprise.
Yeah.
A surprise should be that which is not a regular activity. And so when you do it, you yourself can surprise yourself. Have we not surprised ourselves sometimes?
Yeah.
And like Echo likes surprises, and not all surprises may be surprises anyway. Especially when you conspire with somebody to surprise another and then they eavesdrop on it. It ceases to be a surprise.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be in terms of how much you expend on the surprise. Women can fill their husband's tank. On Sunday, he's come home, he put his car there, you just turn the ignition, you notice it was almost near empty tank. You just drove off, I want to buy something and come. By the time you come, full tank.
Yeah, that's something that men would usually not expect women to do. So
but we want the women to do. That's a surprise.
Yeah, that's
so
a
Mama
surprise.
V, that's your project for this week.
Well, that's almost something I was doing last weekend, but just when I got to the first thing, I realized, the tank's actually full.
Okay, now let's take it as a project this weekend and see if we can succeed this time. Okay, so women should look at the things that will give their husbands that sense of surprise, sense of, oh, that wow effect. That's what we are looking for.
What if they don't really show it? Because there are some men, even though they are
Yeah.
grateful, they actually don't say any other thing.
They won't say it, but they will show it. You see, there are those who will say it and not show it. And there are those who will show it without saying it. And both are not necessarily bad. Others will say it and not mean it. Others will not say it, but they really cherish it. So you've got to look at the fabric of your person in the relationship. Because people differ. And as long as we differ, our responses would also differ. Don't go and measure the response of your colleague in the office's husband and wish that your husband would also be doing the same. That would be so unfair on your husband.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next points. Let's see what we've got next. Share a ritual together. Share a ritual together.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually described as a relationship culture. Something that both of you do together. It could be playing game. It could be taking shower together. It could be cooking a meal together.
Okay.
People, it is called the us time.
Okay.
It's a time for the two of you.
Just the two of you.
Two of you. That helps you to synchronize, to gel, to bond. It's a bonding activity.
Okay.
Others have a ritual of singing to each other.
Okay.
Karaoke, they do it. Others take a movie star and role play them. There are all kinds of things you could do. You preach to each other. You have a devotion together. You pray together. And those rituals usually have a set time so that there's an element of predictability. So for instance, if your spouse, I have a friend who, when he travels abroad, the same time they hold their devotion, they do it on the phone.
Okay.
And now with technology where you have video facilities.
Can even see each other.
So there are some rituals that spouses should decide is going to be part of them. A ritual could be that we drive, on weekends we use only one vehicle, unless we have to vary it. So we drive together, going to the market together. It could be a ritual for some people. Once a month, we go to a place together, have a meal together. It could be a ritual. So there must be a certain culture.
Okay.
So that those who are religious will not say ritual means something negative. A ritual is not necessarily satanic or evil or African traditional practice. If you're a Christian and you are sensitive, or if you're a Muslim and you're sensitive to the word ritual.
Google it.
That's why I'm saying culture.
Okay.
Yeah, the couple should have a culture that the two of them share together. It could be a common interest.
Okay.
The ritual of watching the English Premier League.
Could even go to the stadium and go and watch a game.
Exactly. Sitting over popcorn.
You can go out and watch movies. If you don't do it at all, because you do it at home.
You go to the mall to do window
and
shopping. This time when we go, no impulsive buying. And so the women will have to stay put. The men who are impulsive also are there. But largely it's the women. The allure to buy is easy because your accessories are more. Now sometimes you chance on a product that you haven't seen existed, but could match a certain shoe of yours and a certain bag. So we must have a ritual, and it helps.
I was just thinking that you can take a walk at the beach. It's something that we usually don't do. Because it gets very busy and tiring.
You see, the thing is, I mean, this Easter, people are going to be very tired. By the time Easter is over, Tuesday going to work will be a problem. So you've got to take a decision that this Easter, the two of you, if you're a family, you as a family, if you're not married yet, you've got to find creative ways of bonding, building that, what the French call camaraderie. It's so important, that friendship, that spirit of comradeship between you and whoever you consider significant in your life. It's key to do that.
All right. Let's move to our next point, number 6, I think. Give hacks daily.
That's what that one is self-explanatory. I mean, hacks are very important. I like the basketball players. You see how they bond. I mean, it's one of the sports that the guys bond so easily because persistent hugs, embraces. And for women, it's a fuel that gives accruals elsewhere. So those men who want accruals and not deficits, ensure that the tank of hugs increase the intensity, increase the momentum, increase the frequency, but ensure that it's a hug, because see, this we are talking about a hug, not a hug
that
plus.
Leads to, that leads to something. It's just a hug.
There's a hug and there's hug plus.
This is just a hug.
This is just a hug. You're leaving home, you can just embrace each other. You know, one of my fathers, my spiritual fathers, whose wife was my art teacher in Koforidua Sectec, I don't know if he's watching, but he said that when they got married, the wife wanted him to close the zipper, the hook and eye at the back. And then he put a condition that if you want me to do this, then anytime I do it, I need a kiss.
Oh, just a kiss?
A kiss.
Okay.
So it became part of their ritual.
Oh.
It is now automated. So anytime he did it, Daddy Ahulu, then he gets his kiss or a peg, whichever one comes. You know, so you can do it. You should do it creatively. It shouldn't be something that becomes cumbersome and a burden. Once it becomes a burden, it's almost like a chore.
Yeah.
And who wants a chore?
Becomes boring.
Boring.
Okay. Let's move on to point number 7.
I got mine this morning anyway.
Okay. Was just a hug?
A hug.
And a kiss?
From everybody in the house. No, no kiss.
Okay.
A hug and a peg.
Say thank you.
Thank you. We are trained. Courtesy for boys and girls.
But sometimes when we grow and it's in a relationship, it's like something that you would do anyway.
That's what is dangerous, because then it's familiarity breeds contempt. So your significant person does something for you, you should recognize it and say thank you. It's an attitude and a culture you make part of your existence. If you don't do that, then clearly what you're doing is that you'll be unhappy in a relationship. Because what I did was not appreciated. Who in this life doesn't want to be appreciated? No matter how small it is, how insignificant it may seem, there's a need for it to be noticed, for it to be recognized, and for it to be appreciated.
All right. So just
it could range from meals to paying of bills, clearing of garbage, doing all kinds of things. And there's a need for us to show appreciation. I mean, for those who are Christian, the Lord Jesus demanded, were all of you not cleansed? How come only you have come to say thanks? So there's a need for us to give thanks.
All right.
To our significant. I mean, thank them for even being in your life. What a joy for the person to know that their existence in your life is contributing positively and not adversarial to your existence. Great.
Okay, point number 8. Point number 8. Go on dates often.
A date is key. A friend calls it, Randy Pope, he says that a date is divine appointment to edify. In other words, it's an appointment you set so that you enrich, you add value, you progress qualitatively. So you can go to the mall, you can go to a movie, you can go to Uncle Ebo White's.
Is it similar to doing, sharing a ritual or
sharing
culture?
a ritual. You see, the rituals are rituals, but this is a date. It's not necessarily a ritual, but dates could form part of a ritual.
Okay.
But this is go on a date. For instance, Uncle Ebo's show. You set an appointment that, May Day we'll go for a show. That's a date. You see, you have set an appointment. Some women are actually so formal that their husbands will have to notify them ahead of time to block schedules. Some husbands are also like that. So if your significant person is that kind, could be a very busy schedule they run. So you set a date to improve the quality of the relationship. You see, but for the ritual, it's more fun, it's more leisure, it's almost like a place to sanitize ourselves, crack jokes and go away.
Yeah.
But the date is formal, it's structured, it's timed, and it is blocked. It's a date which is blocked. And so it is your date.
Okay.
Phones are away, Nobody is interrupting. Children are out of the equation. But for the ritual, you could involve your children if there are children around you. You could involve the entire household, including a domestic assistant. It's a ritual. Yeah, but for the date, it's like he is having a chat with him. But if it was a woman, they may be having a conversation, cozy conversation. It's where you have the eyeball effect. You look into each other's eye. And you could do an appraisal of your relationship. You could go on a hideout together, a retreat facility. Just retreat from the busyness of life and go and hide somewhere. It's a date you have. A travel trip. I mean, couples are going to Seychelles, they're going to here, they're going there. If you're a preacher, you're going on a preaching tour. You go with your spouse. Let them cool off. If you're a journalist, you've been busy all year round. Holidays are coming. Don't add to the holidays with all the work. Take a break. Let your wife now feel your presence.
Yeah.
You've been waking up 4 a.m., some 2 a.m. to come to work. You go home like 10, 12. Your wife or husband is tired. They can't chat with you. Holiday is a good time. Don't add to the boys. Don't add to the girls. Defer girls activity and go home.
Thank you.
And go on a date.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next point. Put down their phones and talk face to face. This is something you can actually add to the dates.
Yeah. I mean, on a date, you don't want to be interrupted. So you tag your phones away. But as a couple, once we want to build a relationship, putting our phones away is good. I know people who have taken their spouse's phone and destroyed it.
Okay, but that's not exactly something you want to do.
No,
right?
you don't want to do. You know why they would destroy it? Because the phone has become a rival. Why would you allow your phone to be so attached to you that your spouse or your significant person cannot have your attention? There's a need for us, if we say this person is significant, is to make them feel significant. We should let them know they are significant. We should position them as significant. But where a phone dethrones a significant individual, that is unfortunate.
All right. Let's go to point number 10, is it?
Yep.
Okay. Focus on each other's strengths.
You know, I mentioned earlier that we are very quick to go into the negatives, the things that do not work, the things that are not pleasant in the lives of whoever is significant in your life. But there's a need for us to now focus on the strengths. What are the strengths of your spouse? What do they complement you with? Because that sense of complementarity is very important. Where you are weak, they will compensate with their strength. Where you are weak, they would also compensate with their strength. And if we are going to lessen depression in relationships, I believe that these tools and these should come hands-on. They should be things that we can hold to lessen the condition of unhappiness, sadness, withdrawal, and a state of singleness, even though you're married in a relationship.
I think we have one more to go.
Yes, one more.
Because it's 11. Yeah. Okay, so the last points. Never leave without saying goodbye and I love you.
Yeah. This is also going to be, like I said, the earlier one, starting the day together. If you went to bed and there were issues outstanding, unresolved, saying goodbye will be difficult. You rush into bed, you're listening to the radio and fall asleep. You're lying in the couch or sofa and you fall asleep, so you can't say goodbye. One goes into the company of the children as though they're chatting and playing and then falls asleep, so you can't say goodbye. Now, if there are issues outstanding, love, yes, but you can't say it. So you rather have the love as a commitment, not love as a verbal statement. Okay, so this will be very much dependent on the condition prevalent, the atmosphere around the two of you. Otherwise, if it is a cordial, congenial atmosphere, goodbye is not a difficult thing to say. And I love you is not a difficult thing to say. And we must recognize that, like I said, others will say it, others will show it. Some are not verbal in their inclination. So they may not say, I love you, but they're doing everything to show you that I love you. Others too, they won't show that much, but they will say it often. So we need to be very generous and not become too fixated.
Yeah, they said you should say goodbye and
I
love you, so I must hear it from you.
Exactly. But those of us who are not the saying type can modify our behavior, because behaviors can be learned and unlearned. Okay, so if there are some behavior to unlearn, unlearn them. And those you need to learn them. And it's for the betterment of your significant relationship that you have.
Yeah. I guess what we're trying to say here is that you know the love language that is acceptable in your home.
Exactly.
So just use it. These are pointers that can encourage us and guide us so that, you know, we want to be happy, not depressed in our relationships.
Yeah.
What do you do? Is this something that you print and post somewhere to remind you that this is, because sometimes we need those things.
Yeah, you see, there are some individuals, they need constant reminders. And thankfully, technology has given us these smartphones. It will be a place to keep this as a reservoir. And from time to time, you go to it, to review, because it is said that unexamined life is not worth living. So for as long as we know that these things can help our cause, let's find creative ways of incorporating these things into our everyday life.
Okay.
Now, some may need the spouse or the significant person in their life to bring it to their attention from time to time. And this one, when you're doing it, you don't do it with sarcasm. You do it with generosity, respect. You do it as a matter of, for our mutual benefit. Sometimes people are quick to point that you don't do this, you don't do that, but how are you able to facilitate the doing of what you have been complaining about? You see, sometimes you can enable people to change the way they relate with you by the support you give them. So if they have an inadequacy in an area, you fill them up. You fill them up. So the fact that they are not so verbal a creature does not mean they cannot become verbal.
Okay.
It's like personality differences and temperaments. When you talk about it, I remember speaking somewhere and a woman told her husband that you heard what the counselor was saying. That's how I am, and please just take me like that.
Oh, wow.
Clearly, this woman is showing that she's unwilling and unable to change. But nobody is set in concrete. We are not in concrete. So we can modify our behavior, we can adopt new ones, we can do away with the bad ones. There's something called best practices. We learn from best practices. So if there's something you're doing which will not help the cause of the relationship and would increase the state of sadness or withdrawal of the significant person in your life, then you don't do those things. You do rather the things that will bring them closer to you. It doesn't mean forever they will be cheerful. There are ups and downs, there are difficult moments, there are pleasant moments, there are unpleasant moments. There are times you may even question the, the veracity, the viability of the relationship. You can't be sure who you are dealing with anymore. Those would come. Yeah. When those moments come, your real resilience is not in making that stay. It's in doing an assessment of them and asking yourself, how do these run against my commitment? Because your commitment is your commitment. Yeah. You may not even feel it, but you must do it.
Finally, on this subject of love and depression, who do you talk to when you feel really depressed? You want to go according to all the things that we've said, but you are not in that state right now. You want somebody to talk to.
Before you talk to a third party, be sure that both of you have spoken about it.
Okay.
You see, sometimes we are willing to devote things to third parties we have not discussed. And that can lend itself to betrayal.
It's not easy to say that I cheated on you, and because what is making me depressed is the fact that anytime I see you, I remember what I went.
If it is by guilt, then you need to divulge that information to somebody you can confide in, not one who will use it as a prayer topic, or go and tell somebody else, or go and tell your spouse. Now, sometimes they will tell you so that you help them to break the news to the significant person. They are not sure their response. So you need to speak to somebody who has the capacity to do what you're looking for to be done. Now, it may not always turn out good. And that's something you can't be idealistic about. The fact that you're going to disclose that I have cheated on my spouse, you can't be sure their response. But where it is that the person who is managing the process knows what to be done, they can minimize the impact from being adverse on these persons.
All right.
And we as human beings, there are those who easily forgive, and there are those who don't easily forgive. So you have to also know the person you're dealing with.
Right.
I mean, I read a story of a man who strayed into same-sex behavior after a marriage of 25 years, and then the wife discovered it. People pressured the wife to leave the relationship. They started a church in the garage, and the church had grown to over 25,000 congregation. The man strayed into this condition. She wrote a beautiful book, Why I Stayed.
Oh, so she stayed.
She's still with her husband.
Wow.
The question is, how did they go about it? So sometimes people's inspiring stories can also encourage you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you think you are the only one who is going through this. But there may have been others who have gone through the same situation and may have sailed through the storm and now settled at the bay. You can learn lessons from them.
Okay.
Of course, they are different from you, but you can learn some vital lessons.
Okay.
And that can give you some encouragement.
All right. Thank you very much for your time and your thoughts.
Any day, Mama V.
Yeah.
It's a joy.
We're super grateful. And I learned so much from you on this show when we're talking relationships. So,
hey, anyway, I brought you this.
Okay. Oh, this is one written by yourself.
Yes.
Becoming a beauty for His glory.
When I was coming, I heard you talk about books, so I wanted to give you this one.
Okay. Now tell me what you're hoping would happen to me after reading this.
Well, I'm hoping that you become a radiant beauty. And when you look at what Gifty says, Mrs. Gifty Afenye says about the book and the bookmark, that's basically what it is. The book is a mirror.
Okay.
A cheval glass.
That women of all backgrounds, culture, faith, and race should use to access or assess their level of spirituality. This is very useful.
So that's basically what it said.
All
Be
right.
a beauty for His glory.
Thank you. I should come back in 3 weeks a better person here on the show. Thank you very much, Kevin-Annan. Thank you for this gift.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.